Well, there's a lot going on out there. A lot of smoke, a lot of big names beefing with each other. Difference of opinions, as I call beef. I don't mean nobody doing a drive-by. Don't teach my son how to do a drive-by. But we do have prominent names differing on subjects, and I love that. As long as we keep the discussion going and stop all this seamless, easy, dumb debate. Let's go. So Stephen Jackson, Stacks, my dog. And Gayle King. Oh my, I actually know Gayle King as well. Seen her a couple times recently. We've been hanging a little bit. Let's see what they're talking about as we go back and reflect. On the NCAA tournament, we all know Caitlyn Clark stole the show once again, even though South Carolina went undefeated and won it all. In this world today, everything gotta get racial. And guess what? Your side has already been picked based on your epidermis, based on your complexion. Don't you dare ever go against your pick. Let's hear Stephen Jackson and Gayle King talk about that tournament.
So, Gayle King's supposed to be somebody that's big in the journalism space, right? And I don't consider her black media. Y'all give her all these passes because she fuck with she's Oprah friend. I don't give a fuck who friend she is. I don't do nothing for nobody. But you cannot demean Dawn Staley like that. You talking to her about winning the championship, about going undefeated, and you have the nerve to get on there and say, well, we was rooting for Caitlyn Clark and you broke everybody's hearts. Who is we? Who is we? All the black people I know was rooting for Dawn Staley. We all fans of Caitlyn Clark, but the way you put it, that shit was trash. Yeah, and it's I'm glad it's a new day in the media space. You know what I'm saying? Because you so intelligent, you don't even say stuff like that to somebody on the interview. You just demeaned her and made it about Caitlyn Clark. That's trash. Super trash.
All right, y'all, let me just give y'all a little context here. Y'all know I love me some Stephen Jackson. That's my dog. Met Stephen Jackson the first time I met him. We were on the bus, a shuttle bus going to the Playboy Mansion. Back in the days when you didn't want to test the Playboy Mansion and their security. Things change over time. You start valeting the Rolls Royce right in front of Hugh Hefner's house. But at first, everybody on that shuttle. Now, I remember meeting Stephen Jackson in the back of the bus, the shuttle, because he was just, I ain't never met somebody who's younger than me that felt like my uncle, right? You know, some hood family, some real, we too hood. Your nephew or your uncle is younger than you. But Stephen Jackson, I was like, dog, you got an old ass soul. You ghetto. He cracked me up. Fast forward to today, he's doing his thing in the media. Love Stephen Jackson, no matter what we disagree on. That's my dog. Gayle King, interesting. I'm not with Stephen Jackson for most of his take. Let's talk about this take, what he really was saying. Look, he wanted Gayle King to choose the side, right? He said we. We all know what the we meant. Hey, you're a black journalist, and first, don't cut her down. Don't chop her legs. Gayle King is big time, right? Let's just call it what it is. She big time. She does a show with Nate Burleson. They big time. They big time. You can't do that. Like that's the J. Cole way of dissing somebody. Lying. That ain't no classic album. Really? Oh, yeah, I apologize. It was. Gayle King is big time in journalism. Who cares how she got put on? She in there, right? You can say whatever you want. My son gonna get put on whatever I do. So, he better be big time when y'all see his level of platform. So, Gayle King, in an interview. Now, you're interviewing Dawn Staley, a black woman. You're a black woman. But you're not interviewing her because she's black. You interviewing her because she coaches South Carolina that just so happens to have to face Caitlyn Clark in Iowa, which is all white, except I think they got one black player, right? They got their quota. So you talking about this team, its greatness, it being undefeated, and there's a monster on the other side. Oh, I'm sorry, in the sport of basketball, there are times when there's a monster that's not black. Larry Bird, all the way to now. Jokic, like god dang, like Luka, like, you know, Caitlyn Clark, like stop. So in this moment, Gayle King wants to bring up Caitlyn Clark and say it in the spirit of America's sweetheart. Now this is why I have an issue with this. Because it's obvious that Caitlyn Clark is America's sweetheart over South Carolina's team and even over Angel Reese, right? Call it like you see it. And it's because of her game and because of her demeanor. Just like Steph Curry. Steph Curry is America's sweetheart because of his game and because of his demeanor. And last time I checked, Steph Curry's black. So, Gayle King was not going there to start a race war, to start a race conversation, to start racial controversy. And I don't think it's inappropriate for you to talk about a team and also talk about its opponent or talk about the antagonist in this. Talk about the greatest competition you have and talk about the greatest player in your level of sport. I'm sure Magic got tired of hearing about Bird. I'm sure Bird got tired of hearing about Magic. Oh, well, y'all both gonna grow the game because we gonna both talk about y'all. We gonna talk about all y'all. That's how the game goes. So, I didn't like that part from Stacks. Like, is Gayle King out of bounds for saying we? Here's the thing. I was rooting for Caitlyn Clark. Then I was rooting for South Carolina. Then I was rooting for Iowa. Like, if you had to say the finals game, I was like, I want Caitlyn Clark to win. So that meant Iowa, right? Why? Because I actually watched the Iowa game. I didn't watch the South Carolina game. I did not. I watched LSU, Iowa, and I saw USC, was that UCLA or something like that? That's it. I watched 2 games before the finals. Come on, y'all, stop playing with me. Point being, I'm black. Point being, we wasn't rooting for South Carolina because I still don't know one player on their team. So, but this whole thing, don't make it racial because then you're going to find out that me is a part of we and I ain't part of y'all. I'm over here. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm not by myself. So, like I told you, when I'm out, I'm with my family. Steven Jackson, when he out, you saw him right there at Cheesecake Factory or something. He gonna drop one on you too. That's why he's Steven Jackson. He's big time, right? Respect. But dog, I think between a classic grande burrito and that popcorn shrimp, you made this something that it wasn't. It wasn't about race. And you shouldn't have to have a rooting interest based on race. Now, if you do, you're going to fall down that slippery slope of identity politics and find yourself in conversations that you know you can't substantiate. You know they have no foundation. You just rooting. I talk to my friends all the time. One of the worst things you can do when you're dating someone, and dating someone is not just intimate, sexual, like just meeting new people, data. Dating is coming from the root word of data collection. You're collecting data on somebody. You're getting to know them. Don't root. Tell this to all, especially young girls, but everybody need to hear it. Don't root. Because what happens is this. Every girl that I met when I was young, simple, I was rooting for. Curly head, light skin, oh. You know what I'm saying? Brown mocha, long, wavy, oh. Afro dark, like I had types. Like I was like, if you that type, I'm rooting for you. I ain't listening to you because I'm rooting, right? When you're rooting, you're not listening. When you're rooting, you are now running past all of the intelligent, logical things you need to address just to get to where you want to go because you're rooting. Steven Jackson was rooting for South Carolina. He was rooting for Dawn Staley, but his greatest rooting interest was black people. So he was rooting for the team with the most black people. And when he saw another black person rooting against that black team with that black coach, he got a problem. That rooting got him into that problem because the problem wasn't what Gayle King said, it's the fact that what he was rooting for had opposition, had competition, had something you had to respect. And that's all Gayle King said. So I learned that the hard way through dating. Like, hold on, stop. I know she's beautiful. Stop, close your eyes. Now listen. Oh, I think if he put the burrito down and he would have just listened, oh, Gayle King ain't got to root for all the black people. You ain't got to. It's okay. We bigger than that. We're more open than that. So beat it up in the comments. Let me know what y'all think about that whole situation. I thought that was hilarious. And no matter disagreement, this is the beauty of it. And I love the fact he said new media and all this different media. Yeah, we all can talk about each other now. Let's go. We all got platforms. I love this kind of conversation. Now, Gayle King probably won't respond. I had to respond just to inject what I felt in that situation because those missteps gets a lot of people.